Carrying with a round in the chamber is one of those hot button topics that we all talk about in the firearms community, but today I'm going to show you two examples that are the only thing you ever need to see to prove that carrying with a round in the chamber is the only way. Now, not only will we analyze the videos that we see here and why it's so important for these people to be carrying with a round in the chamber, but I'm also going to give you a couple of tips at the end if you're not comfortable with this that will help you out and get you comfortable with the idea of carrying on a loaded chamber. Now, of course, this is just my opinion and I want to hear yours. No matter if you agree or disagree, let me know what you think down below after the video. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. Let's go and get into it. So let me show you the first example. Now, to break this video down a little bit, this is the store owner here, or an employee of this store. I'm not sure how the conversation ended up outside of the establishment. You can tell from some of the subsequent frames that there are people inside of the liquor store there. I don't know if they tried to buy liquor, they're underage. Not sure. We don't really have a lot of context there. But what we do know is that one of the cowards ends up hitting the dude. Now, this is the definition of a coward. I don't care if he's over 18, under 18, whatever, he's still a coward. Because the store owner or employee is clearly having a heated discussion with one of the kids looking this way, and then he hits him from this way. That's when you see the other kids get a little bit more courage. One hits him from behind, then the kid in red hits him. He starts to get backed up towards that door, and at some point here, he draws his firearm. He kind of moves back towards the same spot where the altercation started. And now this is where you see one of the kids, he acts like he's gonna buck up and hit him again until he sees the gun, and then he smartly runs away and the crowd disperses. Now, fortunately for them, the store owner never pulls the trigger of the gun. He realizes that they're scattering as soon as they see that he has a firearm. When you have a group of people, when they are surrounding you like that and being violent towards you, this is the perfect example. Play stupid games and you win stupid prizes, right? It doesn't matter that they're underage, in my opinion, because he's being surrounded by a bunch of people that can potentially hurt or kill this man. Now, I want to look at this not only from the self-defense perspective and does he have the right to use his firearm, but also should he have a round in the chamber here? Well, if you see the crowd that's around him, let's assume that he didn't have a round in the chamber. When can he actually chamber this gun? Maybe he has a split second when he comes around the corner, sure. But that is also going to introduce the possibility of a severe malfunction, which will then leave him defenseless. These kids have already shown that they're willing to be aggressive enough to the point where they're going to assault him. And when you have 3, 4, 5 of them around you, you pretty much have no chance unless you're frickin' Bruce Lee or Chuck Norris or John Wick. But those guys are the exception, not the rule. I know we all want to think we're John Wick, but at the end of the day, there's only one Keanu Reeves. Regardless, trying to chamber a gun in that moment would have been really sketchy. It could have led to a malfunction that you just cannot afford to have in a moment like that. And also fortunately, just the sight of that gun dispersed the crowd, got them away from him. You can't always depend on that though, right? There will be people that are so aggressive towards you that they don't care if you have a gun because they may have their own gun, right? We've seen situations like that as well where, people break into a home and it's only once those shots are fired that they realize, oh crap, this is not a soft target. This isn't somebody that I can just run over and make a victim. And that's the whole point I want you to take from this. You can be victimized even when you have a firearm. So having a round in the chamber for this situation is super important. I find it interesting that the kid then drives around and he's like, oh, he pulled out a gun. We're just kids on bikes, blah, blah, blah. Now he does admit, okay, well, yeah, he did hit him, right? Well, yeah, you're not just kids on bikes, right? I don't know if it was this kid that was filming. I think this was the kid that was filming the whole time. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Regardless, you're not just kids on bikes when you start assaulting people. So I just want to make that very clear as far as my opinion when it comes to that. It's very interesting, a delusional mindset. Now, the other video I want to show you is even more disturbing, right? And this highlights perfectly, maybe even better than the first example, carrying with a round in the chamber is the only option here. Now, we see this young man, he comes to his door, he has food, groceries, something in one hand, and then keys in the other, right? Now, this is a very sketchy time for any of us, no matter if it's daylight or, well, especially at nighttime. When you're walking to your door, right, people know that you are distracted, trying to get into your home, your back is always turned, so this is where you have to be so aware of what's going on around you, of noises, of people talking. Have somebody else watch your back if somebody else is with you, right? Fumbling around with keys and all of that kind of stuff. You know, one of the things you could always do is when you get out of the car, you could have your keys ready to go. Obviously, having your firearm on your side or a place where you can get to it. These are the situations that we talk about a lot. I did a video a couple weeks ago talking about a couple that was robbed coming up through the door, and they were shot actually too, so even worse. So we see him, he's at his door, keys in one hand, groceries in the other. He hears something, so fortunately he's vigilant enough to know that something isn't right. He hears a voice that's familiar or unfamiliar. Either way, it causes him to look in that direction. And you see, with his keys in his hand, he's actually carrying outside the waistband. That is beneficial to him in this situation because he's able to slowly draw that gun out. I know some people had talked about in the comments of the video, like, oh my God, he drew the gun so slow. I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to do it indiscriminately, right? So the other person doesn't become aware that he's going to draw on him. I assume that's what the mindset is here. But anyways, he draws it out very slowly, and when the dude approaches him, he eliminates him. Now, we don't know the circumstances around this video. Is this guy just coming home from work? Do these two have an ongoing dispute? Are they neighbors? Probably not, but I would bet that the guy in the mask that tries to attack him probably knows him on some level or knows of him. But either way, he was rightfully eliminated because he tried to attack this guy. And fortunately, he had the vigilance to be ready for a situation just like that, carrying outside the waistband, and had his gun drawn, although slowly. I think it was more of a kind of a tactical move on his part, whether he subconsciously did that or whatever. It worked out to his benefit because he didn't draw a lot of attention to the fact he had a firearm, and it's clear that whoever was trying to hurt him did not see the firearm on his hip when he walked up the stairs behind him. Now, you may be saying, okay, I should carry with a round in the chamber, but how do I become comfortable with that? I've made videos dedicated to this topic, right? Concealed carry, or just type in one in the chamber headshot, right? And you'll see those videos, and I'll try to remember to link it down in the description as well, or throw a card up here. But just to give you one thing to know, right? One thing from those previous videos. Firearms, pretty much every striker fired gun out there, which is primarily what people are carrying now, are designed to be carried with a round in the chamber. Double to single action guns, same type of deal, right? You're going to have some with a safety, some without a safety. I don't believe in having those safeties because if you don't hit it, right, if you're not used to hitting it, if you're not training with it, whatever the case may be, you may not hit it and may not have time to protect yourself, right? So I don't mess with safeties, but just understand that there's safeties built into pretty much every striker fired gun out there. Now, of course, this is up to you, right? This is always on you, and it's always on me to make sure you keep your finger off the trigger until you are ready to fire. This is something you have to practice over and over and over. When you get your holster, having a good holster, by the way, is going to be crucial to this entire thing. I've done a bunch of videos here on good holsters as well, so that's something too you should check out, right? But having a good holster that's going to cover that trigger guard, keeping your finger off of the trigger until you are ready to fire, Draw the gun out of your holster at home, right? Make sure that it's obviously unloaded, right? But practice that draw where your finger is always off of that trigger until you are on the target, whether that's a TV or you're watching The Walking Dead or any number of things. I've used that example a lot for a long time. I don't watch The Walking Dead anymore, but regardless, whatever you watch, you can always kind of use that as your basis. There's a lot of different techniques that you can use to become comfortable with this, but knowing that most modern guns are designed to be carried with round in the chamber or a round in the chamber is important. Internal safeties, right? Firing pin blocks, things like that are also a part of the gun safeties. So even if it doesn't have an external, that's why you can get away with carrying around in the chamber. You can beat the back of the gun, you can drop it in most cases, and it will not go off. So there you go. That will get you with the idea of getting comfortable with this. And then of course, from there, it's just about getting that holster and making sure that it's good. It's going to cover the trigger guard, no issues there. And once you've done it for a while, you'll start to realize, oh wow, okay, this is clearly better. It's going to put me in a better situation if I ever have to draw this gun, and I feel more comfortable with it. I keep my gun in the holster 100% of the time, pretty much, my concealed carry, unless I'm taking it to the range to practice with it. I used to unchamber when I would get home and then chamber back up, and that's really not good for the rounds themselves. So I don't even do that. I just keep it in the holster because it's always solid. It's not going to go off. Nothing's going to happen while it's in there. And that's the way I keep that thing 100% of the time. So there you go, man. I hope these two examples will show you why carrying with a round in the chamber is, in my opinion, the only way. But it always comes down to you and being safe with your firearm as well. And at the end of the day, it's on all of us to do that. But that's my opinion. I want to hear yours down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.